This episode of the podcast is brought to you by our partner, Audible.
Yes, it is. So we are partnered with Audible. That means that if you are looking just to check it out, you don't want to put your card in and just take the dive. You can get 30 days for free on us. If you go to audibletrial.com/JATG or click the link down below, you'll be taken there. You can sign up for 30 days for free and just test it out. Like there's a lot of stuff on there that you can get for free, a lot of Audible exclusives. But what I really like about Audible is that out of the hundreds and thousands of audiobooks that they have, if you decide to purchase something, that is yours forever. Like if you decide not to carry on your subscription or you want to take a break or whatever it is, you can always go back and listen to that book whenever you want through the app on the internet. Doesn't matter because it's yours. So once again, you can get that for 30 days for free on us if you go to audibletrial.com/JATG.
That's it. Boom. Johnny and the Greg back again on a Monday. We've been here in a while. Please subscribe, like, follow, do all the fun things you do on all of our platforms, including Twitch, YouTube, and every podcast platform out there. I don't think there's one we're not on.
Yeah, pretty much. Sure.
Yeah. How you doing, G?
I mean, there's probably a couple we're not on, but we're on the big ones. I'm doing all right. It's we're at the end of spring, and spring wasn't great around here. But
when do you consider summer?
Pretty much after Memorial Day.
Me too. Okay.
Yeah, that's like my official summer has started.
Do you think
especially
go ahead,
especially since I stopped teaching? Like
okay,
when I was teaching, summer was still like 2-3 weeks away because I taught at schools that had really long school years.
Okay.
And like a lot of schools are already done.
Yeah, Gwen's done Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, do you think most people in America follow kind of the way everybody else does? Like, I'm sorry. Do you think most people in America follow the summer starts Memorial Day weekend?
I think so. My neighbor, his company has what they're calling summer hours.
Yeah.
Which is on Friday, everybody takes a half day.
That's nice.
Yeah, he's like, it's really cool.
Yeah, of course.
And yeah, and he's mostly remote. Like his office isn't that far away. But he'll go in every once in a while. But they pretty much, as a company, said no meetings. Everybody's off.
Yeah,
enjoy an extra, 3-4 hours of summer.
Right.
But he was out painting a fence last Friday, and I was out there talking to him.
Yeah. My wife is the only one that doesn't follow everybody else.
Oh, really?
It has to be the calendar. The calendar has to tell her when.
Oh, like the meteorological.
Like I think what is it?
Meteorological.
June 21st.
Yeah.
Is that okay? She's like, and like it's a like I'm serious. This is
wow.
Summer starts then. I'm like, no, it starts this time. No.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so we've had nothing like a full-blown argument. Well, we've had bickers about it, and I'm just like,
I was gonna say, is that just like her upbringing? Is that what her family does?
I don't know. I think there's certain things she just wants to stand on, and that's one of them. I mean, we all have them.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. I'm sure there's certain things that I stand on, but I can't think of one right now. But I'm sure I have a dozens.
When summer blockbusters are coming out, I mean, they're getting pushed back. I still think like Memorial Day, is kind of the start.
Me too. And that's one of my arguments.
That's when weather, in the upper Midwest generally gets nice enough.
Yeah,
that it's you can wear shorts and t-shirts most days.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I just always thought. Now, if I lived in Florida, I would probably have to adjust my thinking on that.
Because, that's a good point.
Because the weather turns a lot sooner. And
yeah.
And I mean, they've been in
the 80s since like what, April, May,
Yeah.
I would think.
So
So I mean, it would be a weird shift.
let's talk about that for a second. Okay, I've noticed this now, and maybe it's always been the thing. I've never looked for it, but I've been noticing now that the younger generation, the high school, college generation, they seem to wear
Mhm.
sweatshirts in 85-degree weather, and I don't get it. Hoodies.
Oh, they do. Yeah.
I don't get
My
it.
kids totally do.
Yeah, are they hot or are they just
I don't
doing
get it
that
either.
because like don't they get hot or are they just doing it because maybe they feel more comfortable in that?
No, well, no, yeah, they get warm. I mean, it's a style choice. I've talked to my son about it. I'm like, buddy, it's 85. Like the Wisconsin hoodie can go away.
Yeah,
Or we'll be headed somewhere. I think when we went to the House on the Rock, which is a trippy experience, I think we did a whole show on
we
that.
did.
He wanted to wear his hoodie in there. And I'm like, dude, we're gonna do a lot of walking. He's like, I'll just take it off then. I'm like, I don't think that's, but yeah, they're just kind of comfortable in hoodies the
That's
whole
so
time.
weird. Not only that, I've noticed
And
how
okay, whatever. I mean,
yeah, I've noticed how some of the high school girls and college girls dress. It's like Uggs and then like just like yoga pants and a big sweatshirt.
mhm,
That's all of them.
yeah.
Like, and I remember like back in our day, like you wanted to almost stand out.
Eh, yes and
No?
no.
Okay. I
Yes and
just
no. I
remember
mean, I
girls
I
wanting to
think,
stand out. I remember girls having the poof of their hair. You know, they had the
well, yeah, that was in high school, but even in college, it was. I mean, I remember sundresses. Like everybody wanted to wear a sundress
I
when
don't
the
remember
weather
that,
was
but okay.
appropriate. Um,
We went to
or like,
Wisconsin. It was a lot of jeans.
well, yeah. I mean, just certainly, like during the week, it
Yeah.
was it was jeans and sweatshirts
Yeah.
still.
Yeah.
Um, whatever college you went to was the sweatshirt you wore, and
Yeah.
you had two or three of them, and you just rotated throughout the week. That
Yeah.
was it.
I don't, yeah, I'll be honest. I don't remember that. I just don't. But it's like, I was like, I'm almost jealous because the guys have white Crocs, really
Uh-huh.
hiked up shorts. I don't know about that. But, and
Show
then
a lot
they,
of thigh. Yeah.
yeah. And then they wear a sweatshirt and they don't have a haircut or it is a haircut, but it's
Oh,
kind of like that.
it's a mop top. It's back to the
Yeah.
70s. Yeah.
And I'm kind of jealous. I'm like, damn
Hmm.
it. That's like, that would have been so simple. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I
And
I,
then
I
a
kind
couple of
of
times I sat there and thought, well, that's not very tactical.
I miss a little bit of the mop top hair. I mean, I've only let it go so long, like when I
Yeah.
had it. I mean,
Yeah.
and then I would get to the point where I'm because I was so used to like taking care of it, and I'm an oily individual, so like,
Are you?
yeah, I had to.
I don't remember you with like a lot of acne.
It wasn't acne because I took care of it, but it was a lot of like I had to wash my hair like every day.
Oh, you're
Um,
talking about that. Okay. Okay.
yeah, or else like I could do like the whole, and it would just stay there.
Stay there. Got
And
it.
it just felt gross. So even like when I started to get to know you, I would grow it out to a certain point,
Yeah.
and then I'd go and like shave it, like clipper it short, and then just do that process all over again.
Okay.
But but yeah, I
Yeah.
mean it's mop toppy. It's
Yeah. I just started noticing that.
constantly with a hood on. Now
Yeah.
there's one kid that I know who's he's a sophomore in high school.
Yeah.
And every time I see him like out in public, he's got a hoodie on and he'll have his hood up and he has the mop top kind of hair. But then I talk to his parents, they're like, he walks around the house shirtless all the time. Just like
That's funny.
he's got two older brothers and they're like, well, you put a shirt on. He's like,
Put a
why?
shirt on, dude.
Yeah, yeah. And it's not like he's a big kid. I mean, I don't he's not
Yeah. I know
he's
what you
he's
mean.
a
He's
skinny
just a
kid,
kid.
but
Yeah,
but
he's
but
a kid.
he's not something where he's like trying to show something off. He's just
Right.
comfortable.
He's just
According
comfortable
to
like
his
that.
according to his mom, she's like, we can't get him to put a shirt on at home. I'm like, oh, I'm sure his brothers love that. They're like, they give him no end of
Okay. Would you rather here? Would you rather have a son that walked around in just underwear and like had a hoodie on and underwear, or the vice versa, where he'd have like sweatpants and his shirt off?
Oh, I think the reverse. Yeah. Like don't
What,
I'd rather he have
sweatshirt and underwear?
no, have
Okay,
pants on.
so
Like
not no Donald
pants
Duck.
or
We want
shorts. Yeah.
we
No Winnie the Pooh in it.
yeah
Um yeah, because then
yeah. I
like,
agree. I agree.
you open the door for the Girl Scout cookies or something like that, and then your son's got to die for cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't be here.
Or he
And my
doesn't.
daughters too. Like
Or he doesn't.
I know I'd rather my daughters just are totally covered. Like
Yes, of
that's
course.
what I would
Yes,
prefer.
of course. Yeah. So, my daughter had a dance recital this weekend,
Mhm.
and she did great. But there was something that happened at the dance recital, and I don't know the exact age, but I would guess they were junior high, the
Okay.
dancers. I don't know if you know the song. It sounded like a very uh God, what's that Broadway lit she had black Liza Minnelli.
Yeah.
That the way she sang, it
Okay.
had that type of jazzy pop to it,
Oh, okay.
but it was called You Gotta Shake Those Bells.
Okay.
And the way the story was progressing through the dance was this woman was older. She still lived with her parents. Her parents' suggestion was you got to shake those bells to find a husband.
Uh,
Mm-hmm. And I went, um, is that what I think that is? Is that what and then they started doing
it's
this,
it's not like it's a
and I went,
very
okay, that's what they're doing. And I was thinking to myself, all right, Ursula, I don't know if I would look at this differently, but right now, the way I'm looking at this, I'd be
Mhm.
pissed if that was my kid. I'd be pissed about
Yeah.
that. Am I in the wrong about that?
No, I don't think so. I'm trying to
Okay.
find the song. It was a jazz number?
Yeah.
Because
You think you found it?
well, there's shake, shake, shake your bells.
Maybe it was Shake Your Bells. I thought I was got to ring those
Oh no,
bells.
that's like a toddler kind of thing.
Okay.
There's the
And
one there's like the first one that comes up says you got to shake that thing, and it opens up kind of a bluesy kind of
it's
number.
not Shake That Thing. I don't.
No, that not like from not the reggae one.
Okay.
Um,
But and here's the thing. In this dance studio, after they get to a certain point, you just drop them off and then you come and pick them up. You're not allowed to
sure.
stay there.
Yep.
Okay. I think I'd be upset if
Yeah.
this whole time I've been paying for this and you guys did that. They're in high they're I don't they weren't
In
even in
middle
high
school.
school. They were in middle school.
Is this it?
No. Oh wait,
Okay.
I gotta hear voices.
I don't know if it's got voices.
No, that's not it at all.
Okay. Well, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna sit here and try to find it the whole time.
Yeah,
But
but
I mean, you're right. I mean,
yeah, I
there's
was
an
like,
appropriateness level to it.
yeah, I was
And
shocked
like
by it.
do you remember the scene in Mean Girls where they're doing the
Yes,
rocking around the Christmas
yes,
tree, and
yes.
like the girl who's the main character, her parents who have been living in Africa for 13 years were just wide-eyed like, oh my God, what is
Right.
this?
Yeah,
And yeah, yep,
yeah,
that's
yeah. I said to Ursula, okay, am I being a dad? Am I being
you
this
being a
old dad?
prude.
Yeah, am
Yeah.
I being a prude dad? Which I feel it coming on as my daughter gets
Hmm.
older. I just feel it. It's, you know,
Yeah.
right now I'm not a fan of my daughter wearing a bikini.
Okay. Yep.
I'm like, I don't think a little girl like that needs to wear that. I don't,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah, we
um,
didn't do two pieces with my girls for a long time. Like when
right.
they were like pretty much old enough. So
What song is this? Oh,
sorry.
yeah.
I didn't know. I
Um,
forgot that was playing.
yeah, I'm getting very I'm looking at the world differently, and I always
Hmm.
am looking for Ursula to give me perspective on this. Am I blowing this out of proportion? Am I? And she's like, no, that was really inappropriate. That was weird. I'm like, okay, thank you. I thought that was horrible. And so I hope
Hmm.
somebody says something to them, gives them feedback, lets them know. Because I would
Yeah.
have walked in there and said, are you telling me I paid this entire year for this? I'd be
Yeah.
pissed.
You can be pissed, but
It wouldn't change anything.
From what I've seen of dance studios,
Yeah.
and especially like dance families or dance moms,
Yeah.
they don't give a shit.
They don't care.
They're looking for to develop dancers so they can get trophies and fame, and
Yeah. Yeah.
your personal morality doesn't play into it. You didn't like it, take her somewhere else.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think that's how the majority of, and there's a certain aspect I respect to that.
Yeah, well,
But
yeah. I mean,
I
that's
just feel like if I were to like I feel like if I were to be there and I were to, or she were to come home and say, "Dad, this is what we're practicing," that's when I go, I got to see a performance here before
yeah.
but
I mean,
maybe there's maybe this is foreshadowing of what's to come for me in the dance studio.
I think it is because you're going to be within a year or two. You could be sitting there at at the recital. You finally have caught up to it, and she's going to be like, "Okay, Dad, what do you dance to?" And we're doing a medley of the '80s music. That's great. All of a sudden, here they come out.
Yeah.
And you're
I
like,
knew
"What?"
you were teeing something up. I knew
And
I
you're
felt
going,
it.
"What? What is this? Is this? I mean, do they know? They got to know what they're
Yeah.
pushing, right? I mean, this is."
Yeah. Yeah, you can't be.
And they're just gonna
Yeah.
they're gonna do their simplistic.
And I'm gonna sit there the whole
choreography for
time going,
6-year-olds. And you're gonna see one mom in the corner going,
yeah, probably.
just jamming.
Yeah,
That's my baby.
probably.
And that's gonna be it.
Yeah, that'll be it. That'll be the day that you read me in the papers.
Well, that'll be the day that you're going and you're not doing dance anymore.
Dad
That's it.
burns down dance studio in protest, shit like that. Um,
Well,
yeah, so that hit me, and like I said, and I'm realizing something very quick about myself. Um, as she gets older, I get more animalistic. Like I get like in terms of protection. Like I am
oh, sure. Like you
like
jump in quicker.
yeah, and I get like 0 to 60
Uh-huh.
like that, and I didn't think that would happen to me.
Oh,
Um,
really?
I really didn't. I had no clue. You think you got a fucking clue, and then you have a kid, and you're like, oh,
Yeah,
but
it's
you know,
the range of how different people raise their kids is wide.
oh
And
yeah, huge, yes, but very
you
much
might
so.
even find that like with your siblings. Like
Oh,
there are things there
I
are
do
things that your siblings' kids are going to be allowed to do that you didn't allow Gwen to do,
right, yeah,
or vice versa, and there may be discussions to that. I mean,
yeah. Um, I they definitely raise them differently, but not in a bad way. I think if we're raising them the same way, which we're not,
mhm,
but if we have certain things that line up, I would say we are more stricter than they are. That's all
mhm.
with it.
And that's what it's going to be. It's usually going to all revolve around like media. Like
Yeah.
what media are they allowed to
Media with us, it's candy.
take in? Oh, yeah, diets. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
another one.
Um, like don't get me wrong. I don't mind my kid having a candy every now and then, but I don't they don't need it every day. That's how I look
Hmm.
at it. But I remember when I was a kid, if I could, I ate it every day. Like
Yeah,
that's
if it
what
was available, sure.
yes, that's what all kids
And
do. But um
and
so
that's for me. It was always the media struggle with
I'm sure that's coming.
they were over at another kid's house and watched something, and you're like, really?
Yeah.
Well, I went, and it wasn't like super bad or anything like that, but it would be like they came back and, oh yeah, we watched Fast and the Furious, and you're like,
Really?
really? That
Yeah.
I wouldn't figure that for a 7-year-old, but
Right.
okay.
Yeah, it's funny you said that because okay, Ursula's mom and dad did not allow sleepovers ever.
Hmm.
They could come and sleep at their house, but their kids couldn't go somewhere else and sleep
Oh,
over
okay. Okay.
unless it was grandma,
Yeah, a family
right?
member or something like
Family
that. Yeah.
member. And I thought that was the most, and so did she at the time, thought that was the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of because I had
Hmm.
thousands of sleepovers as a kid.
Yeah.
And now we don't allow them.
Mhm.
We don't think a sleepover is appropriate for a number of reasons
There's a lot of
because
reasons.
there's
Yeah.
a ton of reasons. And it's not necessarily, it's not that we don't trust you. It's just, it's an environment we know really nothing about. We don't know who's
Mhm.
coming and going. We don't know what the rules are of that house. We don't know,
Sure.
like, we don't know what you like rules. Like do they watch Fast and the Furious? Do they watch
Yeah.
Conan the Barbarian? Like,
Sure.
you
Yeah.
know, so,
And that's
and yeah,
I did lots of things that I shouldn't have done at
same
sleepovers. I
big
mean, and
time
that's,
me. Yes.
even if it was just being outside way too late. And by outside, I mean like around the neighborhoods
Oh,
at,
running around, not in the
oh yeah,
backyard.
yeah, eleven
Yeah.
thirty, 12 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
We're blocks away
For
from some
sure.
kid's
Yeah.
house because we're
Yeah.
going to another kid's house to see what they were up to.
Yeah.
And I granted it was a different time and
It really
but
was.
but I
And not
know
only that, you grew up in a small town,
I
so
grew up
it's
in a
a
small town.
little bit
Yeah.
different.
And
It's
there
not.
was but I knew people that, again, small town growing up, and this was their kids were little in like the early 2000s.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, with not social media, but like the internet giving us all this information all of a sudden, and they're looking up, they're like, you know, kids get assaulted at sleepovers all the time, and it's never reported.
Yeah.
You know, from not just from like another parent
Mm-hmm.
or like the friend, everybody, people's mind snaps to like, oh, the friend's dad,
Yeah.
and but that's not always it.
Correct.
Sometimes it's the other friend. I mean, there's blah
You're
blah
right.
blah. I mean, all that stuff.
There's so
And
many
so they're
variables out there. Yeah.
right. So they're like, no sleepovers. Like
Yeah.
you can stay over there super late.
Yeah.
Like we'll
I'll
come
come
get you
get you. Yeah. We'll come
at
get you.
12:30 or 1 or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
But that's it. And
Right.
and honestly, like the sleepover culture around us never really like
Took
it wasn't
off.
there anymore. No,
No.
like my kids did we did some birthday parties that were sleepovers or
Yeah.
things like that. But for the most part, like I remember Friday night growing up, like when you're in like I'd say elementary,
Mm-hmm.
like halfway through middle school,
Mm-hmm.
um, mom wouldn't even be in the door yet. Like she'd be coming home from work and we would meet her in the driveway. Can we go sleep over at so and so's house, or can so and so come over and sleep over? Like that was our
Right.
welcome home on a Friday night.
Right. Yeah.
Was trying to set up a sleepover.
Right.
We had one friend, and we didn't get this at the time, but his parents wanted to go out all the time, so they're like, "Hey, why don't you call so and see if you could sleep over at their place?" Because they wanted to go out.
Yeah.
Like, and we didn't get it. We just knew, Travis was going to call us and be like, "Hey, can I come sleep over tonight?" I don't know. Let me ask.
Yeah. I remember clear as day. Like, I think the entire summers were sleepovers.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I was ever home in the summer. Now, my family dynamic and how I grew up is way different than yours, where
Mhm.
you had the dad and the mom, they were there all the
Yeah.
time. My mom worked 3 jobs. So I was in charge of myself from 8 years old. I just had to check in with a
You're
phone
right.
call every now and then.
Hmm.
Not the best way to go. I wouldn't advise that. In fact, as a parent now, when I think back at what I did as a kid from 8 years old on, I'm like, oh my God, like, how am I still here? Like,
Hmm.
I could have walked into severe damage of somebody that could have been an abuser. I could have been kidnapped. I remember getting
Oh
in
yeah.
cars from strangers because he had a cool dog. Like, I did stupid, horrendous stuff. And it worries me. And maybe I'm overcompensating that now with my daughter because I feel like Paul Atreides, where I see 1,000 different scenarios
Yeah.
and a golden path.
Do
And the
were you
golden path
ever
is no sleepovers.
were you ever forced into a sleepover? Did you ever have that experience
Forced
where it's
into
like
a sleep.
you're going to sleep here? Like it was a like you like mom and dad have plans or something. You're going to go stay at this person's house. Like they already
Ah,
had it set up for you.
you mean mom and dad set it up?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I had that a couple times. I remember we were actually on vacation down in Virginia visiting my mom's family,
Okay.
which is like her cousins for the most part.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's not like brothers and sisters, it's cousins. And it was her cousin and she had two boys. And so my brother and I were introduced to our second cousins and it was, hey, why don't you go sleep at their place? We're like, we just met these guys.
Yeah.
Like we
How old
don't
were
know
you?
them.
How old were you?
I want to say I was either late elementary or early middle school, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe. Well, you know
Hmm.
what? Now
That's
that I think about it, maybe no, maybe I was like right in the middle of middle school, like maybe like sixth or seventh grade or something like that.
that's kind of tough.
To the point where I'm like, I don't like we don't know them. And
Yeah.
but we were down there, and so we go, and it's not that I didn't like these guys,
You know.
but hanging out with them for a couple hours at a family reunion and then going to their house with no means of escape,
There you
like
go.
that's a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I remember we were hanging outside, and like all the neighborhood kids were around, and here's two new people, my
Mhm.
brother and I, and so people were coming over and meeting us. There was one girl that was there. She lived like three houses down from them, and she comes up, she's walking over, and I'm like, who's this? And one guy's like, that's my sister. And like he got upset that I was inquiring who the girl coming over was because that was his sister. And
Oh, yeah.
okay, that's
Wow. Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
take it
Like
easy.
you're right. There's like thousands of variables. There's
Yeah,
just
and
like
it
neighborhood
turned into
kids. You
nothing,
don't
but
even know the
I mean,
neighborhood kids. Yeah.
no, I mean we're setting off fireworks because it was
Yeah.
4th of July ish.
Yeah.
And then one dad comes out and just screams at his kids to the point where and it was the brother and the sister. He just shouts at them, and they get scared stiff, and they're like, "Yes, sir." And he's like, "Get your ass in here." And so they go. I'm like, that seemed abusive. What's going on? and and they're like, no, that if he's angry, then it's time for us to go inside. Okay, so then we go inside. Like their parents are getting ready for bed because it's 11, 12 o'clock, whatever. We're going to sleep in the living room, all four boys, like on couches and chairs and
Yeah.
whatever. One of the cousins decides to go out, and he finds his dad's porn and pops that in.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay,
What's
like,
that?
well, not even a what's that. I mean, it
Is
was,
that what it looks like? Huh.
well, and I remember it was like this weird waterfall scene or something like that. But like all the other guys were like,
Yeah, of
and I'm
course. Yeah.
like, this seems awkward. Like
Yeah.
it was enough for me to be like, okay, like I've heard of this in other settings,
Yes.
things like that. But I'm like, nope. Like we don't know you guys. Your parents are like
Right there over there. Yeah.
7 yards away.
Very
Right now.
easy
I
for you
mean,
guys to
like,
be the scapegoat. Well,
yeah,
Greg found it.
yeah. Like when he was digging around
Yeah.
in dad's no drawer or whatever,
Yeah.
and I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to
Yeah,
sleep
that's
now.
that's another thing to be fearful of as she gets older.
Yeah,
And
like you
not
just
not
don't
that
know.
she's not. Look, guys, I understand. For all you out there watching or listening to us right now, I understand my daughter is going to be exposed to this stuff. But I think what I want is the ability to talk to her about it
Yeah.
and tell her like, okay, that's this. Now let's talk about real life.
Hmm.
And this is how it's treated in real life, and I think one of the worst mistakes that can happen with a father with a child parent relationship is, and maybe this is going to be maybe I'm a loner in this, Greg. You let me know if I'm right or how you feel about this. Is that I think the sex talk should come from you, and it should be a
Oh yeah.
place of total communication and understanding. And
Hmm.
I'm sure it's going to be awkward, but I feel like if you are always open to talking about it, then it's less awkward each time.
Hmm. Well, and that's the other thing is that it shouldn't be this one moment in time
Yeah, right.
where it that's. I mean, a lot of people were raised that way. A lot of
Yes.
people still kind of
My
think,
wife
well,
is. My wife
like
gets
that.
shy sometimes about it, or
Well,
even now.
and even just having okay, we're going to talk about it when she's this age.
Right.
And I'm like, whatever age you're putting on there is too late. I mean, that's usually what it is.
Oh, I see
So,
what you're saying. Like we don't talk about anything until here. Got it.
right. And I know
Yes.
people that raised their kids that way.
Yeah.
Like they made like an event out of it. Like
Oh
here,
no.
like you have reached, whatever level of age that they had set.
Oh,
And we are
or
going to have,
congratulations. Now you're a
well,
woman. Now we're gonna have to talk.
yeah,
Like
but it was
weird
a
stuff
little
like that.
different. It was more like, it wasn't like they threw a party or anything.
Yeah,
I mean,
hold on.
it was,
Sex education.
yeah, no, it was more like, hey, we're gonna go out to dinner, and
Yeah,
then after dinner we're gonna sit down and we're gonna have to,
right.
and it, but the thing is, like, especially now, she's gonna be exposed to all of this stuff way before that.
Mm-hmm.
So what we did with our kids is that, like, even starting at like 5 or 6,
Yeah.
we're using the correct terminology
Yep.
for all the body parts. And
So you didn't include slang?
eventually, yes,
Okay.
but
Okay.
you don't
I feel
start.
weird because I use the correct body parts now, like the
Mhm.
scientific, body
Yeah.
parts. And I explain that to her now when she asks questions about it. I, but I can't pull myself to say slang. Like
And then,
like
and
I
I
can't
remember
say
my,
dick. Like
right.
I
No,
can't
no,
do
no,
that.
no. Well, I remember my son, he was 7 or 8 or
Yeah.
something like that. And I think, you know, my dad, and whatever was happening, I remember we were down at my parents, and I think my son was trying to catch toads or something like that.
Okay.
And my dad was trying to be funny. And dad's like, "Ooh, just wait for him to jump up and grab you by the tallywhacker." And Lex is kind of like, okay. And kind of went around, and he came over to me.
What's a tallywhacker?
Yeah, he's like,
Yeah.
"Dad, yeah, buddy, that's my tallywhacker." Because he didn't know.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and finally I told him. And I mean, eventually, once they got that down, I mean, I started calling it as junk.
Yeah.
Like, because
Well, oh, you know what?
you,
That's false. I do call I when we've talked about it, I call it a hoo-ha.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's,
So I have used slang. Yes.
I mean, but they know what that is. I mean,
Yes.
it's
Yes.
not just the slang.
Correct. Yeah. She
So,
also calls it like her pee pee
yeah,
because she pees there.
yeah. I mean, there's,
The 5-year-old how they connect stuff. But
mhm.
but
And you're going to hear, I mean, she's in school, so
yes.
they're going to
Yes.
hear about, your no spot. Oh,
Oh
okay.
yeah. Oh no,
I mean, all that
yeah.
stuff. So they're going
Yep.
to be, but making those connections, and then you just step it up from there. So that
Right.
by the time it was ready, and we separated, like, my wife talked to the girls, I talked to the boy, and by the time we were there, I'm like, okay, here are the parts, right? Do you know what they do? And because he was really, really into the history or the nature channel, he, I mean, we just connected the dots that way.
Yeah.
And he was
Yeah.
like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And that's just the biology of it. And
Right.
then as they got older is when we went into, like, oh no, there's heavy emotions attached to this.
Yeah.
So,
Feelings, emotions,
mhm.
attachments. Yes. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I don't know how we went there, bro.
Yeah, no, 26 minutes in, and
Yeah.
we
26
talked
minutes
about
in.
nothing that I had planned today.
No, no, nothing at all. Why don't you get us going here?
Oh, geez. Well, some stuff has been happening since Memorial Day, since the kickoff of summer, and I don't care who says different. Um, a couple of things. One thing I wanted to talk about is, have you paid much attention to baseball this year? Major League Baseball?
No, I since I
Okay.
listen to sports radio, I know what's going on in the Chicago land area. But I
Okay.
also know that there is it was I think it was last week, a umpire famously retired and everybody like threw a parade.
Oh, it was, I mean, like, this guy, and that's what I'm going to talk
Angel
about.
Angel Hernandez, right?
Hernandez.
Yes.
And, I don't know. I mean, I've seen clips of this guy in the past just
Yeah.
blowing calls.
Yes.
And you're like, should that be allowed to happen? Like, where's the checks and balances?
Right.
And yeah, when he retired, he blew enough calls that someone brought him into a back room, showed him, like, what I'm about to show you or something like it.
Yeah.
And he was blindsided by how much he was missing. And to the point where he's like, guess it's time to hang it up. And
No kidding.
luckily,
Is that how it happened?
that's how I heard it happen. whether it
Wow.
actually did or not. But I'm going to show you guys. This is a TikTok I found where it is just, and it's not all Angel Hernandez, but
Right.
like these are the calls that are being blown right now in the MLB, which is to me showing like some of the issues with the sport. Like people could
Right.
be walking away or finding other sports to watch. So check this out.
You got to turn it up.
That's as high as I can get,
Oh, can't hear it.
or maybe not.
We can't hear it, but for those of you that are
All right,
wondering what we're looking at, it's on TikTok. So if you guys want to see what we're officially looking at, go to our YouTube or our Twitch stream.
Low in 2024.
Hear it. I hear it now.
Angel Hernandez make one of the worst strike calls in the history of
Look at
baseball.
this.
This was almost 8 inches off the plate. Even MLB knows that Angel Hernandez is terrible at his job because once upon a time, they banned him from working the World Series and Angel Hernandez sued Major League Baseball. A week after Angel made one of the worst strike calls of all time, Aaron Boone got thrown out of a game.
Yeah, I
for
talked about
literally
this not
nothing.
too long
The home
ago.
plate umpire mistook a fan for a Yankee.
So
Yeah,
the coach got a warning.
I heard about this.
This guy is in the stands.
Yeah.
And he yells, and the ump's like,
Yankees player or even Aaron
kicks
Boone,
them
and
out.
he threw out Boone because he's in charge of the entire dugout. It doesn't matter if it's a player or a fan. And he also lied after the game saying that he heard something from the end of the Yankees dugout, not from that fan. Later in that same series, Oakland now got the short end of the stick courtesy of a different home plate umpire. This dude had one of the worst zones of the entire year. Surprisingly, fans across social media came to the defense of this home plate umpire because they said that Jose Trevino is so good at framing, aka tricking the umpire, that it makes his job almost impossible. So should we have an electronic strike zone or not? It's going to be really hard to get rid of umpires in general because if you guys did not know, the umpires are in a union and it's pretty strong. They're probably not going anywhere anytime soon.
yeah.
MLB umpiring
So-
has
Okay.
reached an all-time low in 2024.
This brings
So
up
the
some
I-
interesting questions. Yeah. Go ahead.
So one, they're in a union, which I'm not about to be a union hater.
Right.
But the idea that if there's that much human error, and we're talking about millions of dollars involved here in sports in Major League Baseball,
Mm-hmm.
I think there's got to be some kind of check and balance going on with an electronic system.
So you're talking about bringing in an AI?
Well, it doesn't have to be an AI because it doesn't have to be in an intelligent system, but it's got to be something where, they've already got it set up that you can see where the ball is and you can see where the strike zone is. Speeding that up to the point where there's got to be like a check, like an instant replay for every call where the guy is going to be like, nope, yep. Nope.
So maybe the AI could do an instant check because they could watch it faster accordance with if it's in this box,
Mhm.
it's this. If it's out of this box, it's that.
Yeah.
I guess look, I don't know enough about baseball to remotely pretend like I do. I do know that there are a lot of let's just call them baseball heads, the people that love the sport since it's been played since Babe Ruth's day.
Yeah.
It's
it's been around since the Civil War.
Yeah,
So.
and they hate shit that changes because it has to do with the stats and all this stuff.
Mhm.
So I know they fought against a pitch clock, and I hear that's doing great.
Mhm.
Games are finishing up quicker. The one thing I think that maybe, and I think you were trying to ask about this, but their fight for not trying to advance the sport is probably starting to hurt the sport.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know that the old baseball heads think that human error is part of the game. And to some extent, they're not wrong. But when these decisions start mounting
Mhm.
or a decision of kicking somebody out when he never said anything, like that's silly. But yeah, if a guy is this bad and you're paying him to be this
Yeah.
bad, and from what I understand, this Angel Hernandez is one of the worst umps ever. And
yeah.
he thinks he thought he was a star. Like he was,
Mhm.
people were there for Angel.
And
not
this is
for the
coming
game.
from me, like not being a huge baseball guy.
Yeah.
Knowing the name Angel Hernandez is a terrible umpire is kind of a big deal.
Yeah, I agree. The fact that you said you wanted to talk about baseball today, I would
Yeah.
like what?
Well, it's just, I mean, it gets to the idea that these sports that we've known forever,
Hmm.
they need to evolve, and they
Yeah.
need to get better at a lot of things
Hmm.
in order for people to stay interested.
I agree. Um, uh, and then there is the whole idea of too much progress.
Yep.
Like what the NFL is doing now, where
Yep.
they're pushing for 18 games and they're pushing it for every day of the week, and that's just too much.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know actually if I'm being an old football head that likes my football on
But the reason they're,
Thursdays on Thanksgiving, the rest of it's
yeah,
Sunday and Monday, and that's it. I don't need it anymore.
but from what I understand, the reason they're pushing for it is so that they can line up the Super Bowl with President's Day
Yes.
so that it becomes a 3-day weekend for a lot of people.
Hmm.
And I'm like, that seems weird. Why don't you just start a week later? Like start the season a week later. And they're like, oh, no,
No,
because
yeah,
there's
I
so
know.
many
I
other
agree with you.
contracts involved.
I agree with you.
And Clay just said this on the like the technology's there and it's not expensive technology. In
Correct.
fact, they've already got it in place. It's just going to have to be like I think just a dude on the mic, like for every call going, yep, that was a strike.
Yep.
Nope, that was a ball.
Yep.
No, you're way off on that one. And they're going to have like whatever, I mean, like those ones that are literally, you know, 80 some inches outside of the box.
Yeah.
There's got to be some guy flipping a switch being like, nope, we're going to go to the film on this one.
Or you could have that AI system where I saw that little box and that little thing that they were showing.
Mhm.
That's the strike zone, right?
It is. Yeah.
Okay. I don't watch enough baseball at all to know what that was. I'm just
Mhm.
guessing that. Okay. So anytime it goes out, he should be wearing like some sort of Google glasses that it talks
Yeah,
to the
it just
glasses
pops
and it
up.
goes red for out, green for in.
Yeah.
Simple. Like,
Mhm.
um, that's just something that came off the top of my head. Now there's so much logistics. There's so much I don't know about the game, so I might be way off on all that.
Well, and the behind the plate umpire does more than just call strikes and balls. I mean, there's other things that he does that you need that human element there for.
Okay,
Like,
I didn't know that. Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
calling people safe at home if they're sliding in or something like that. I mean,
Oh,
there's got
got
to
it.
be
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
he's got to have a set of eyes for that as well.
Uh-huh.
Or if there's a line drive down the foul line, like
Yes.
he makes that call. So I think there's more to it than just the strikes and the balls, but there's still that element that's such a big part of it.
Yeah, you're right.
It could be automated. I mean,
Well, did you hear that what they're going to do this preseason for the NFL? They're finally doing moving the chain gain is no more. Finally.
really?
Yeah, it's an electronical system now that'll measure first downs.
Okay.
So they're testing it out in the preseason. If it works, it will be implemented this
Mhm.
season. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, and it's weird where you see the NFL's making so many changes to the game.
yes, they are.
That fans are like, hold on there.
Yep.
This is barely football anymore.
You've heard about the kickoff, right?
I've heard about the kickoff.
Yeah.
I've heard those bonnets, those extra covers,
Yep.
helmet covers,
Yep.
that they're going to be allowable
Yep.
for people to wear. And I'm like, it's not going to be too long to everybody's just going to wear those.
Probably.
So I mean, there's pieces to it that you go, okay. I mean, the new tackling rules, you're like, okay,
God, I
don't
forgot
know.
about them. We talked
Yeah.
about that. I forgot about the tackling
Yeah, no,
rules. That's
no
right.
more hip dip tackles.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I don't know.
Hip drop.
Yeah, or the hip
Yep,
drop.
hip drop.
I don't know how you're going to be able. It's just going to be like if you can't push a guy over, then it's not a tackle. I mean, because that's
Yeah.
going to come down.
That's
to the
what's
only
going to
way-
happen. It becomes about people trying to hit you down instead of pull you down.
Correct, but
Right.
they can only hit you certain ways.
Correct.
You can't put a shoulder into a guy.
Nope.
That
No, you can put a shoulder into it, but your helmet better not follow.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know how you can do that.
No, I don't know how you can do it either. Which is funny if you think of it, the evolution of what this is turning into. It's turning into an offensive game because
yeah. Well,
every
they want
rule
us-
is against the defense.
Mhm.
You know, and they keep finding new ones to help out the offense because I think last year scoring was down because defenses were figuring stuff out, and so they just threw up a new
Yep.
rule so that
Well, and
offense can keep
that's
scoring.
we've said this about the NBA that nobody plays defense anymore because they
Yeah.
want high scoring games, and I think
Yeah.
that's what you're going to see eventually with the
Yeah.
NFL
Yeah.
until they start to lose money, and then they're going to be like, oh no, we gotta
Yeah.
pare things back a little bit.
Yeah. Hey, can I
So,
piggyback off your sports thing here? What have you been hearing about what's going on with Caitlin Clark and the WNBA?
I have, yeah.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
Um, I've seen a couple things.
Did you see the
One,
cheap shot yesterday?
I saw the cheap shot. Yeah.
Okay. Do you
Where
think it was a cheap shot or do you think it was fair
yeah,
game?
I do.
Okay.
I thought it was a cheap shot, and it looked like a cheap shot.
Yeah.
At the same time, in the NBA, we see shit like that
All the time. Not only
All the time.
NBA, all over sports. But go
Yeah,
ahead.
see it in college. You see it.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
so yes, I think it's a cheap shot, and part of me's like, you're in the pros. Like that's just how the
Yeah.
pros play.
Yeah.
What kind of got me the other day is that I saw one. It was a quote from one of the other players, and I can't remember her name,
Okay.
but she's like, other than being an amazing 3-point shooter, what else is Caitlin Clark bringing to the table?
That's the
Especially-
girl. That's the girl that cheap shot her.
It is okay.
Yes. Yes.
So, like in the pros, like yeah, you can make it rain threes from really far outside that line.
Yeah.
But what else are you going to bring to the table? Like as soon as someone can shut down her on an outside shot, what are you going to do? I mean, what are they going to use it for?
Okay. This is the first, like, I've watched every Caitlin Clark in the NBA, the WNBA game that I can, and every game I cannot watch, I actually watch the highlights. She's
Okay.
a very good passer. I will give her that. She's a very good passer, and she has this 3-point shot from pretty much, it's not all over the place. She has spots.
Mm-hmm.
But what they're doing is what they do to every rookie. They rough
sure,
you
beat the
the
shit
F
out.
up. Yeah,
Yeah.
they beat you up. And I don't think they're all beating her up because she's white. I don't think that.
No,
I don't think they're giving her a hard time because she's white. I think they're giving her a hard time because she's coming in. She came in with so much fanfare.
Yeah.
And
she's got some bravado to her. She
and
does.
yeah, and people, okay, you're not going to do that against me.
Yeah.
And I'm going to outplay. And I think this is just her figuring it out. And you can tell she's figuring it out. She's starting to figure out how to do this. Now, I think she needs to be a little more physical. I don't think she's much of a defender. But I don't have a problem with what's going on. I have a problem with the media trying to protect her. And this whole idea of, okay, yes, look, I think this rookie class that has come in to the WNBA has more fanfare than ever.
Before. Yeah.
I don't believe you and I have ever talked about the WNBA in any conversation at any forum ever.
Mm-hmm.
And this year we started talking about it simply because I was impressed by it. I found it very enjoyable to watch the Final Four with the women's and all these rookies that were standing out, or all these players in college that were standing out to me. They got drafted. 2 of them went to the Chicago Sky, so I get to watch them a lot. And
where do they play in Chicago?
Yeah, good question. It's not the United Center. It's
I
it's a smaller stadium because they just don't fill in there. This is something I heard because they're very much on, they want to get equal pay as the men. Unfortunately, that'll never happen if the company you're working for has never made never been in the black in 29 years.
Right.
They've never turned a profit. The only reason they're alive is because the NBA partnered with them, and the NBA gives them, they give them like 5% of the TV revenue or something like that to keep them going. So, but maybe with this rookie class, they can start standing on their own 2 feet. And I think people are getting that mixed up. I think people are, what I mean by that is they're saying they're all jealous of Caitlin Clark, and how can you be jealous of her when now she's getting you on charter flights, and now she's bringing more eyes to the game, and I don't think that's what they're doing. They're not hating her because of what she's bringing.
No,
she's a rookie, and welcome to the league.
Yeah, I mean
that's how I look at it.
She's a talented yet cocky rookie.
Yeah,
and and that happened. I mean, it happened to Magic
It's going to
Johnson.
probably
I
happen to
mean,
the Chicago Bear quarterback this year.
oh yeah,
He's
yeah.
going to get
Who
humbled for
he?
sure.
I heard he was spitting some hate on the Packers recently. Which,
Now, let me fight that.
well, I honestly, I just saw the
Yeah.
headline. I don't know what he said,
No,
but he should. Like that's
yeah.
it's your rival. You
Yes.
should do that.
Absolutely agree. I will say this in his defense. The crowd, he went to Wrigleyville. Okay.
Sure.
He
Yeah.
went to Wrigleyville. He's the number one pick. He's what we hope he's going to be. I'm just going to say it. We hope he's going to be our savior. We hope he's
Sure.
going to be this fantastic quarterback. And they started yelling, Green Bay sucks. And he just did this. He didn't lead the charge. He just did this.
Okay.
Okay. So, but anyway, you're right. I like the fact that he's leaning into it. He's like, yeah, I'm here. I'm the number one pick. I hope I do really well. And I hope I bring this city a championship. Cool.
Yeah.
Now you have to back that up when Green Bay hits you in the mouth.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. As Mike Tyson said, everybody's got a plan to get punched in the face.
Yes. So I have no problem that he's leaning into it. But going back to Caitlin Clark, I think this is just welcome to the WNBA.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's, like I said, it's probably the first time that more eyes are on it. So they're looking at it, not even knowing how they've played in the league for the last 29 years.
Right.
They don't know it's as physical. It's a physical. I didn't know it was as physical as it is. It's more physical than the men's. I'm actually impressed. I'm like, oh.
It's, and I know you don't like the word, but it's right up there with women's soccer. Like women's soccer, when you watch it, it is a physical game. Like they get after it.
Do they?
Like,
Okay,
yeah.
Let's rewind a little bit. The word that I don't like is soccer. I like the word women.
Yeah.
Just so everybody understands.
So I just finished the season of Welcome to Wrexham. So
yes.
I'm catching up on that. Wrexham has a women's team. I didn't know that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And so they're working and they were getting promoted faster than the men's team. Like they were in contenders. And
well, for years, the US women's team is way better than the men's.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And true to form for most women's sports, they play at a different stadium that's smaller. They don't have the draw. They don't get paid as much, but they were winning championships before the Wrexham men's team.
Okay.
And so the owners, Rob McElhenney and Ryan Reynolds, they when they bought Wrexham, they also got the women's team as like package deal. So they're helping them along too. But they were showing like the women's, like one of their star players, a prison guard as her day job. And so she's out there just wrecking people. And I've said that for a long time. Like when I have watched like US women's soccer or something, like you watch the men, they flop like every other men's sport. They take these flops. The women don't flop as much. Like if someone's getting batted around, like they're standing up to it.
Good for them.
So anyway.
Yeah.
So moving off of sports, something that again, because we haven't really been on here since Memorial Day, this is one that I had queued up. Here's a guy that I follow on TikTok, and his movie therapy is his handle if you want to go check him out. But he's talking a little bit more about the state of movie theaters.
Oh, okay.
And where are they at? So we're going to watch this little 3-minute video and then we'll discuss.
Things are not looking good for movie theaters right now. Furiosa, one of the summer's first big blockbusters, has only made somewhere around $25 million in its opening weekend, and through Memorial Day, it's projected to sit around $31 million, which would be the worst Memorial Day weekend sales for movie theaters in like 30 years. Furiosa had a production budget of around $168 million, which, with its extensive marketing, would mean they need to make over $300 million just to break even. And we've already talked at great length about why this might be, and there are myriad reasons. There's movie theater etiquette not being followed. There's consumer habits crafted by the pandemic. The prices are way too high. And some people would even tell you it's because the movies are too woke. And a lot of people have said Fury Road didn't even make that much money. Why would we expect this one to? And that's kind of true, but I think a lot of us were hoping for an Into the Spider-Verse situation where that movie didn't make a ton of money and then Across the Spider-Verse made double because of all of the people watching it since. But I don't want to breeze past movie theaters being too expensive. If you were going to go see Furiosa with your partner, it would cost you $60+. for 2 drinks, 2 tickets, and a popcorn. Now, that doesn't include gas or parking or getting a babysitter. That's a huge factor. But I would wager the people that do have the money aren't going either. And this is coming from a guy that once spent his last $20 to rent We're the Millers. I think it's deeper than that. The movie Atlas came out on Netflix the same day as Furiosa and became the #1 movie on Netflix worldwide. Now, I know that Netflix probably cooks their books and it doesn't take into account the amount of people that turned that movie on and then just started doing laundry, but I still think there's a disturbing amount of people that wouldn't see the difference between Furiosa and Atlas. It's just content. Ted Sarandos, one of the CEOs of Netflix, is claiming that Barbie and Oppenheimer would have been just as big on Netflix, and that is delusional. Here's a picture of me watching Furiosa on my phone. If you push all of your hard-won cynicism to the bottom of your gut, then you know in your deepest heart of hearts that there's an aspect of community and spectacle to going to a movie theater that cannot be replicated. These images deserve to be seen on a big screen. But more than that, it's about the attention. You're in a place where you can't look at your phone, where you're not apt to think about all of your cares and worries and just focus on the story. Which is why that I think that the real culprit for movie theaters dying is what Bilge Ebiri, a film critic, says here. It's the phones. It's the fact that we can watch our phones all day. We're addicted to it. You're doing it right now. There's shit you should be doing. Garfield is struggling even harder than Furiosa, and family media usually does really well. Finding Dory made over $1 billion. You might be thinking, well, Finding Dory rocks. Minions: The Rise of Gru also made almost $1 billion. I think it's more than the prices, the theater etiquette, or the perceived political messaging. I think when it comes to movies, most people just don't care anymore. Or more accurately, the studios no longer have any ability to predict what people do care about. The sequels and the reboots, that stuff's not working anymore. But people rarely turn out for original stories either. I think that there's a huge cultural shift happening in the way that people view celebrity. They have a distaste for it. A generational division around issues of class, which I think is actually a very good thing. But there is a difference between Lawrence of Arabia and Parasite and Kim Kardashian. I think we need to separate that when it comes to art. I don't have the answers. I just thought it was interesting. And if your natural
Okay.
He has a lot to say there, and
He does.
there's a lot there. I'm not going to remember all of it, so I'll let you lead with it, and I'll do my best to follow.
I think it's interesting as he's talking about like why people aren't going to movie theaters. And I think some of it is like the learned behavior from the pandemic of people just don't want to go, and they think the studios are trying to push out movie theaters to a point with their 45-day window of you can get a movie on a streaming service within 45 days. You can purchase The Fall Guy right now on Amazon, and it's been up there for like 2-3 weeks. I was shocked when it came. I'm like, this movie just came out, and it is a great movie to see in the theater. But some people would be like, well, I can go to the theater. I can, like you said, pay $60 for 2 people to go see a movie when you figure in the tickets and the concessions, or they can pay $25 and buy it on Amazon. That's not even a rent. You can rent it for $20. You can buy it for $25.
Right.
And then watch it at home. And there's certainly that draw to be able to do that because everybody's got, a huge TV. Most people have a decent sound system now. But what you're missing out on is that the inclusiveness of watching a film. So I watched Atlas the day it came out, and my son was gone, which meant it was my 2 daughters, my wife, and I was like, I want to watch this movie about a giant mech unit. And they're like, it's Jennifer Lopez. I'm like, I don't care. Like, I know she's not a real high actress on our rating scale, but
I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
But I want to watch this movie.
Yeah.
Because it's got some other people in it that I really like. And so we turned it on, and the 3 of them were on their phone the whole time. Like, they were not connected at all to watching the movie. And I was like, I'm not picking up my phone right now. I want to see this.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know.
I don't disagree with that. I think phones are horrible. I do. I'm not too proud to say that I absolutely am addicted to it at certain times. There are certain times I can literally put it down. Like if okay. I'm different because I'm in that different part of my life where it's hard to find okay, it's hard to find a babysitter
Hmm.
and us go out, and the last thing we want to do is go into a dark room and watch a movie. Now I think the problem with that is I think the only movie that I was dying to see, like that I'm pissed I had to wait for it, was Dune. And I
Okay.
finally talked her into buying, oh, let's just buy the 25. Come on, let's just buy it and watch it. And we finally watched it and it was awesome. What pissed her off was that 3 days later, it went on the max.
Oh, sure.
So, but the next movie that I've already talked to her about, I'm like, I got to go to the theater and I got to see Deadpool Wolverine. I got to see it. Like, we got to go
Yeah.
do that. We got to go. I want to
Mhm.
go see that. Um, so I'm different, but I do see what he's talking about with the whole idea of, and the whole idea of people are more into their phones because they can literally watch it at any time. You can go home, watch it at any time.
If you can wait 40 days, you
Yes,
can, and you're willing to pay even the rental fee, like you
right.
can watch it at home.
Yeah. So here's the question I throw to you. You're in a different boat too because you don't
Mhm.
spend what the average moviegoer spends.
No.
If
And
that
that
was the case,
I
would
would
you
not
go
say
as frequently?
no, not
Okay.
at all. I just wouldn't be able to.
Right.
And I wouldn't be able to do it with my family. Now, I will say those movie theaters, like the big multiplex,
Yeah.
um, where the tickets are $17 to $20 for
Yes.
an evening show, all of them do usually have some. I mean, they have a matinee price, or if you can go a little bit earlier, you can save some money there.
Yes.
Or they have certain days of the week where it's like a $5 Tuesday or
Right.
something like that, where
Right.
you can get out to see these movies at on a day that's just not as busy. And I would totally take advantage of that. Like if that was my only option, yeah, I would be hard pressed to book something on a Tuesday night if I know a movie's coming out that I want to see,
Hmm.
or I'd see more late shows on a Tuesday possibly.
Okay.
But I live in a spot where um like my normal theater, my privately run uh movie theater is a 12-minute drive, and the closest like multiplex, like big corporate movie theater,
Hmm.
um there's two of them. There's an AMC and a Marcus, and I can get to either one of those within 15 to 20.
Got
So
it.
that's not bad. But I think for people like Clay here, who commented like it's just a amount of time. I know where he lives, and I know the closest movie theater is about a 30 to 40 minute drive.
Oh shit. Okay.
Like I think
Yeah.
that's probably what it would take, um, at least 30 minutes to get to the one in the nearest big town.
Yeah.
Because I don't even know if Monroe has a movie theater anymore. And so that would definitely play into it, where you got to figure in a full hour of driving
Yeah.
just to get to where, I mean, and I know where your movie theater is. I mean, it's maybe a 5-10 minute drive.
Yeah.
Um, but that would play into it for me for
Right.
sure.
Of course.
Like
Yeah.
like driving that far to get to a movie.
Yeah. Do you know what I think it really is? As I'm thinking about it now, it's there's so many options now that can
Mm.
divert your attention to where you almost forget about that movie for 45 days and all of a sudden it's
Oh,
here.
and then it shows up. Yeah.
Yeah, like I remember when I was a kid, and I'll go back to a specific movie. I saw the trailer off of my VHS purchase video of Total Recall, where it showed that Terminator 2 was coming out. I was like, oh
Okay.
shit, Terminator 2. There at that time, you had VHS tapes, like with movies,
Hmm.
and you had cable, which was about 50 channels,
Sure.
and you had movie theaters. That was it in terms
Pretty
of,
much it.
yeah. I mean, you had your Atari or your
Yeah.
Nintendo, but
Hmm.
even our age, we weren't on it for hours. It
No.
was like an hour gone to go do
Hmm.
something else. But there was that yearning of, oh my God, I cannot wait to see this. When's it coming out?
Right.
When's it coming out? Like I remember I got sick the day it came out and I cried because I couldn't go. Like now, like I remember a horrible movie. I'm glad I waited, but I really wanted to see Thor: Love and Thunder. I was so ready for
Mhm.
that. I was so excited. Couldn't go. We couldn't find a sitter. There wasn't enough
Yep.
time. It didn't work out.
Didn't line
40,
up.
yeah, 45 days passed. I watched it. I was like, oh. So I think it's options. And what I mean by
Mhm.
options is what I've just explained, but it's also the quality of what we're getting now.
Yeah, that's a lot of it. I mean, I watched the preview today for the next Venom
Oh
film.
God, does that look shitty?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes,
Just,
I
I
agree.
mean, and every time they come up with one, it's like, ooh, is Spider-Man gonna be in this one? I'm like, who cares?
Yeah.
Like, there's no connection
Yes.
between these two
Yes.
characters
Yes.
anymore.
These aren't the
Like,
this isn't
like you're
yeah.
not gonna see it. And I don't care.
Well, I'll be honest, I've never cared about Venom.
Well, it looks like it's the same movie that we're getting. Like, it's Venom versus bad guy symbiotes. Venom 2 was Venom versus a bad guy symbiote. Venom 3 is going to be Venom versus bad guy symbiotes and whatever other creature comes in from his home planet.
A
I mean,
bigger one.
it
Yeah.
is just
That's it.
churning. And I mean, Tom Hardy's better than this. I
Oh
mean, I
yeah,
feel like
absolutely.
he may be having
Absolutely.
fun with it, but
Yeah.
he's collecting a paycheck for sure. But
You know what
yeah,
you need to go back to? Like, would you rather see, and Clay, jump in on this, would you rather see Venom fight another symbiote or Venom fight the Yakuza? Like what I mean is simplify it. Simplify it.
Oh,
Like if Eddie Brock goes to Japan because of let's just go human trafficking thing,
yeah,
article like that, and he's all of a sudden he finds himself in a mix, and you just see him surrounded by a bunch of
yeah.
Yakuza, and all of a sudden
Just
Venom whips out and just destroys them all. That would be
just
so
take
much
out a bunch
fun.
of ninjas. Yeah.
Right. Sometimes a simplified story, but I feel like when it comes to superhero movies now, it has to it has to be like um it has to be like the end battle of all end battles. And you can only
Yeah.
do that for so long.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like a comic book. You were a regular comic book reader. They
Hmm.
had an event, but that only came every year.
At the time, I
Yeah,
mean, it's
yeah,
event after an
there were,
event now.
but at the time it was stories. Like one of my
Yeah.
favorite Wolverine stories was he was in Japan and he was fighting Yakuza, and it was
Yeah.
awesome. There was no
Yeah.
other mutants. It was just him
Hmm.
against a bunch of Yakuza people, and it was a
Silver
great
Samurai and
story.
stuff like that.
Yeah, and sometimes that's all you need to do, but sometimes now it's with multiverses, and now it's aliens
Hmm.
coming down, and it's just like,
Well, and Sony owns the rights to all of those, like the Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3, and Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2. They own the rights to all those characters. So, like, Play here says, like, have Venom fight the Rhino. Yeah,
yeah,
bring in those other villains that you already own the rights to,
there you go.
and have him kind of replace Spider-Man for a little bit,
Maybe, yeah,
like a bad guy taking on another bad guy. But like, they're never going to be able to turn this Venom into
no,
the villain of a Spider-Man film. I mean,
no, they're not.
that's not going to work.
No, I agree with
And
you.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what they're doing with it, but it just doesn't
I
make
don't
sense.
think they're doing anything with it. They're just gonna keep
They're just
porting
cranking stuff
stuff.
out.
Yeah, just crank it out. And I think that's the problem too. They have the property. They see Deadpool do well, and they're like, "Oh, you know what? We got an edgy, dark creature.
Yeah.
Let's put that together and throw that out there." And
Well, but I would argue that the only reason that Deadpool works is because of the writing and what Ryan Reynolds brought to it.
I agree. I'm not saying
Like,
Deadpool would have worked with anybody else. I'm just saying,
right. Like, I don't think you could take Ryan Reynolds, put him in Venom, and have it work as well as it does with Deadpool. And no, there's an idea. Just have Venom kill a Spider-Man. Yeah, like bring in a Spider-Man and like that's like he kills him and absorbs him or whatever. And or have him take over Andrew Garfield. Have him
there
do
you
the
go.
black suit
Yeah,
Spider-Man thing.
yeah.
There's the lack of creativity, and that's that TikToker talked about it too, where just the reboots. And I saw a thing
Yes.
today. Mm, it was Chris Hemsworth. And it was a fan made thing, but they wanted Chris Hemsworth to remake the Demolition Man, the Stallone movie,
Why?
because No, because they're out of ideas, is what
Yeah.
it is. It's
No
like,
shit, man.
and it seems like anything that's creative on its own, people are like, oh, I don't get it. Like Tenet, that was way
Yes.
out there, and people are like, I don't like that. Or The Creator was another like heady sci-fi,
Yeah.
great film.
I actually did
But
not like that, but I could see where a lot of people would. Let me put it that
yeah,
way.
but
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I
Because
mean.
it was out there. It was different. It was, yeah.
The ones that are really being creative right now are the horror films, like
You're right.
Long Legs and anything coming out from A24.
Shut your
And
ugly mouth, Greg.
I watched a Neon film the other day.
All right. For those of you that don't know, I have a distinct fear of this movie, Long Legs. I've only
Yeah.
seen 2 trailers. I have a
It
legit fear of this fucking thing.
The movie studio Neon is doing really just weird, creatively weird stuff.
Creatively weird, 100%, in, at least in my
Yeah.
in my area, uncomfortable. I can't do it.
Which, hey man, I mean, but I don't know if that's getting enough butts and seats. So I don't
Fuck
know.
you, Clay. Fuck you.
I still love going to the theater, and I think more people should find a way to do it. Because I mean, if they go away, that's a travesty.
It is a travesty. It would only be a travesty lost on us.
Mm.
What I mean by that is I don't think Gwen doesn't get,
She doesn't
obviously,
right now.
yeah,
but
I don't think I mean,
when she's old enough, you take
I'm
her
going to
an
take her
IMAX
to
film.
Moana. She wants to see Moana too. So I'm going to take her to that, which I think
Take her
is
to that in
yeah.
IMAX.
Yeah, I'm going to take it. Like, I'm going to show her
do
and see
that.
how she reacts. Yeah. Because right now my daughter thinks if you want anything, you just turn it on and it's there.
Yeah.
There's no waiting. There's no
Mhm.
anticipation for it. There's not the new seasons coming out. There's just,
We
Yeah.
we started watching a new docu-series on Max called Ren Fair.
okay.
Crazy.
All right.
Just it's my son compared it to Tiger King. It's just that's the level of crazy it is. And it
Oh, wow.
surrounds the Texas Renaissance Festival. And we're watching it, and we watched one episode, and that's it. And my kids were like, that's all there is? I'm like, yeah, it comes out each week. They're like, what the hell? We gotta wait a week now. Like, yeah, this is
Yeah.
how you used to watch TV.
Yes. Yeah. I
You know,
remember
Peter
back in the
Wilson
day,
commercials every 10
yeah,
minutes.
you'd watch your favorite show like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And then when it was on summer break, you watched the reruns of it. And then then the season would come out and you'd get your tequila rose, you get your friends. That's it.
And that's all you did.
Yeah, that's all you did. Yeah.
All right, bud.
All right, man. Yeah, let's are we moving on or do you want to do polyamory? Call it a night.
I could.
I'm ready to talk. So if you want to keep going, let's keep the boat going. The boat
this
show.
over here. This over here. Here we go. So who did I pick from Polyjammery this week? Biking with Francis.
Who?
They're Biking with Francis is the
Biking
name
with
of the group.
Francis.
Not necessarily one I would have found, but I started following a couple other content curators that they're doing what I'm doing. They're like, hey, there's a lot of crappy music out there, and here is some that's not so crappy, and I found it, so you don't have to go looking. So this is one that they kind of came out with, and I was like, all right, well, this looks interesting. So I listened to the song Wannabe. I'm like, yep, we're gonna throw it on there. And so hopefully I shared the sound.
Great name, Biking with Francis.
Yeah. Here we go.
They say you got a new man on this and I wanna be the one that you are kissing. I wanna go like, fuck the distance, you can touch road instead of healing. But it's your decision, you got some new friends with no ambition. And how you doing shows
through the hook again. It had kind of a bit of a kind of like a 90s R&B kind of feel, or like early
Yeah, I
2000s.
listening to it, I thought it would almost be like, I feel like this song would be playing at a martini bar.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not for me, but I could see where people would like it.
Well,
It's not offensive. It doesn't like hurt my ears or anything. It's a song that to me would play in the background at some sort of lively bar or get together.
To me, I immediately put it on my playlist that I call the one for the background, which is
Okay.
just background music. Like
Yeah,
if you're
yeah.
at a gathering or a party, or
That's exactly what I thought. Yep.
you're just working during the day and you want
Mhm.
stuff on in the background, that's the playlist I put it in. That
Or
being
washing
said,
your car or
but
yeah.
I know a lot of people like this would be their jam. Like they would
Okay.
have this like cranked up in their car, windows down, and I'm like,
Yeah.
it
Okay.
works for some people.
Yeah,
and
works for some
it kind of works for me. So yeah, that is Biking with Francis. There was like no history I could really find on the artist. Yeah, just they're there. They're on Spotify. So Biking with Francis, that song was Wannabe. And there you go.
Cool. So there is Greg's Polyjamoury. I really like this little segment we worked on. You really took it by the horns. I like it.
I started my own Polyjamoury public playlist. So if you want to look up Polyjamorous, maybe I can actually drop it. But if you want to check that out, people can add to the playlist, and if it's something that I want to share on the show, then I will put it in there. So
The Johnny and the Greg soundtrack.
there you go.
There you
So
go. It's
check
on
out the
Twitch
Twitch
right there
channel.
in the stream
Yep,
chat.
I got it on the Twitch channel. If you're looking at this on YouTube, it'll be in the description down below. If you're listening to this on one of the other fine places that you find podcasts, it's in the description there too.
Cool. All right, Greg. You want to take us out?
Well, since it is for some people the unofficial or official start of summer, people are going to be getting out, doing some stuff, going to some festivals like beer gardens and
Yes.
seeing more people. Just remember, while you're out there doing all those things, don't be a douche.
There you go. For the Greg, this is Johnny saying take care. Thank you for listening. Have a good week. Podcast out, everyone. See ya. Who's this? What's this song?
Wannabe.
Wannabe.